NFR Extra follows all your favorite cowboys, interviews legends of rodeo, and talks to the best of country music. Follow Nevada Caldwell, Ryland Bentley, and Steve Godert every week as they delve deep into the stories behind the road to gold in Vegas at the National Finals Rodeo. It's revealing, comedic, and sometimes emotional. Find it on Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts. NFR Extra. All dirt, all rodeo, all year.
See all these old videos, you know, look at the football players, look at the rodeo cowboys that did it for the love of the sport. You know, make just enough to break even at the end of the year, but just doing it because of the love, you know, and the drive and the adrenaline rush. You know, it's, you know, not only did I love to win, I love to entertain. You know, I love to get the fans interacting. You know, when they played my song when I rode in the box, you know, I could feel the crowd energy just go all through my body. You know what I mean? And so naturally, you know, I'm wanting them on the edge of their seats. I'm wanting them to, you know, whatever their ticket costs. That one run out of all the runs of everybody that night, I'm wanting them to get every ounce of their money's worth. You know what I'm saying? That was my goal every night. I was needing to be a little safe. I just couldn't be that guy, you know. I wanted to blast the roof off that place every time I nodded my head.
NFR Extra, episode 109. We get our money's worth with Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame cowboy Cody Ohl on NFR Extra. Cody is about as cowboy as they come. His career accomplishments speak for themselves as he takes us from past to present with his dynamic career and even lessons for young cowboys to hear.
Payphone days. Let's talk about payphones, Envy. Can you imagine, let's put this in perspective. How did they get the sports news magazine? It was just like whatever cowboy lived close. Like, how were they getting it? Was it distributed at ProRodeos? These are questions I have that I don't actually know, but.
So I'll add to this, right? I grew up a skateboarder, competed, and we had Thrasher magazine at the time, and you either had to have it delivered to your house or you'd have to go to a niche, which is called shop, right, that sold those products, skateboarding products, to get that magazine. That was it. I mean, otherwise, you weren't hopping on a phone and checking stuff, you know, in the middle of the park or whatever it was. So, I mean, like, you had to find those things. And I would imagine no different than the rodeo industry. For any industry back then, those magazines were powerful, right? And you had to get them. And
well, you had to use them. I mean, even still today, like the business, like portion of the sports news journal, like it still has your entries. Like it still has your call dates, your trades, like everything is still listed in this magazine to this day.
So they're still doing the same business they've done since day one, right?
Yes, but you can access more of the information online. I mean, so many of these rodeos now have their own website. You know, you can look at it a little closer to see the breakdown. You have more options there, but I'm talking the fact that these guys, you would have to travel accordingly to be able to pull over at a gas station that has a payphone. You hope there's more than one if there's more than one of you making this call, because yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy to me. Like, I know, like when I was rodeoing, you schedule out like when you need to leave, because you have this many hours, this is when you pull over, this is when you need fuel. Like, you can map out everything now with your little Google map, right?
Yeah, it's all done.
Like, you think of these guys just driving down the road, no phone to Google where the next rodeo ground is, here's your address, it's off this road. Call me crazy, but this little blonde would not have survived 40 years ago with no map.
So it's funny you bring that up. I was literally watching, just recently watching Wolf on Wall Street, and there's a scene in there where DiCaprio has to go and use a payphone away from his house because his house is being tapped, and there's multiple payphones there. And it was interesting when he did that. I'm like, oh my God, that used to be. I grew up at that time. Like, I was just thinking, like, oh, like how far away that seems now that you physically had to go to something to communicate to someone else through a physical line, right? Mind you, you got to remember how that worked too. it was all physical. So those lines were attached to other lines on, whether they be through the ground or on poles up in the air, and going back to another area and plugging there. And so anyways, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the physical world that we lived in back then is so not today. And yeah, I couldn't imagine that, where you'd have to be on point to call people. First of all, you got to be prepared with all your numbers and calling.
Yeah, you had you still give them your ID number when you call in, like your little PRCA card.
So, okay, wait, you'd have to, okay, so even back then today, you got to call PRCA, and that's where this whole connection piece, right? For your
Procom.
And that's the connection piece for you as an athlete with your PRCA card, and how that connects and then goes on to the rest. Wow. And
then like trades have certain times. So like if he drew up the first time in the Slack and he had another rodeo where he had to be there by this time, so he needed to be in the perf the night before, like you have to find out who is in the perf before, get a hold of them, ask if they will trade with you. Like, unless like Facebook now, like they have like trade pages where like a lot of contestants, I only like see the barrel racer ones, but like they just say, hey, I need a trade on this night to be this. And then a lot of times the girls will like reach out and be like, hey, I'm up this night and this night, I can trade if that works for you. But like before, you got to think about the fact, like they not only had to figure out when they were up, then they had to figure out who else was up. You probably had a little booklet of telephone numbers and hope that, so-and-so has the number, because if not, you're calling someone else's mom to see, like he was talking about calling the parents of people, be like, hey, is he here? Like, I need to trade with him.
Yeah, that's...
So if you didn't have the contact because some rookie entered and drew up in the perf, like,
yeah,
then you're going through phone calls of who might know him. Like, I don't know. That's just, it's crazy to think how much more complicated it really probably was than be able to be successful.
It seemed like it was, right? But back then, that's all that you were dealing with.
That was simple. You only knew that.
Exactly. You know what's crazy, though, when you think about Cody's career? So he went from 94 Rookie of the Year and then going to the new millennium. So he went from the physical to he was one of the Cowboys that definitely went from physical to digital, and dealing with what you're saying here is Procom and things like that. That's, wow, man. Oh, geez.
Think about those that were competing in multiple events. Like he ran the all around, and he was too, but those that were competing in multiple events, trying to get set up to go rodeo and make sure you had all the right night, like your preferences were correct. And I mean, that's why they say truly rodeo, it takes a family and it takes a village to make it happen, because it's not easy to navigate, to plan, keep all the horses together. I mean, get the horses to the right place, camp outs, stay there.
The lifestyle.
A Western lifestyle. Pay a lot of money to live like carnies. Living, traveling.
Enjoy our conversation with Cody Ohl on NFR Extra.
Finding your custom NFR experience in Las Vegas just got a lot easier. New this year is a resource that links you to every hotel offer. At nfrexperience.com/stay your way, you can shop for the hotel that best fits your plans. Everything is there. Information on viewing parties, concerts, price, transportation, location, and so much more. All in one place. Go to nfrexperience.com/stay your way. One Vegas. Stay your way.
Hey, y'all, I'm Cody Johnson, and you're joining us right here on NFR Extra.
Cody Ohl has long been considered one of the all-time top ropers in the storied history of pro rodeo. After winning the 1994 PRCA Overall Rookie of the Year, the Texas Cowboy collected 6 world champion buckles. He also qualified for the Wrangler NFR 20 times, while making the Clem McSpadden National Finals steer roping 3 times. Ohl's most memorable run came in a round at the 2003 Wrangler NFR when he clocked a time of 6.5 seconds, tying for the 3rd fastest time ever witnessed in pro rodeo. Along with many NFR records, his $3.5 million in career earnings is second only to the great Trevor Brazile in total money won in pro rodeo competition. As cowboy as ever. Cody Ohl, Welcome to NFR Extra. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing as good as I possibly can at the time. It's, like I said, it's been a rough go for me the last few months, but everything's looking up and just taking day for day for me.
We've been looking forward to get you on here. We've gotten to talk to a lot of, there's champions in the NFR, but then there's multiple champions, folks with a lot of gold buckles, and you're clearly one of them. And the stories you guys have been through and all the stuff that you've experienced from when you were a teenager or even a little toddler to where you're at today. You're a big part of this rodeo Bible that is constantly being created.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Besides the NFR, which clearly you got plenty of gold buckles there, is there one rodeo championship that jumps out at you that is just a great memory?
Yeah, like you mentioned, like Cheyenne, that rodeo, it's so different nowadays than it was back when I won. I won it 3 times in the calf roping, and, it was we were breaking it down the other day. The cattle there were so big and so, explosive if you really want to know the truth, and then when it come down to the finals time, they would take the 2 animals that each contestant, competed on and stick back in the draw. And then that's what you drew at for the finals, So, I can remember, the 2 of the years that I won it was still that same old fashioned. And, one time I won it, I was down by the, second or third buck and shoot in the short go, running wide, Mach 5, running, wide open down through there and got the win for the rodeo, And then another year I actually I rode 3 different horses, my own 2, but 2 different ones in the first and second round. They were both kind of struggling with a little bit of soreness and injury a little bit. And so I swapped, rode one, rode another. And then time I got to the short go, I had to borrow a horse, and I borrowed a great horse of Herbert Terrio's, and I actually ran that calf past the camera pit down there, which people that are familiar with Cheyenne, that's over halfway of the length of that arena, and those runs I made on those 2 calves, are just running a horse. It's like roping a calf in an open pasture, and those 2 runs were just unreal, and to get the championship still and be that far down the arena, how hard the calves were, and the difficulty of winning that championship.
Is there any that, like, with the, I mean, obviously Cheyenne's like one of those, just the classic, for any young buck growing up, that's one besides the NFR that just really is very symbolic of rodeo, right?
You're talking about, there's some guys that have been there 15, 20 years and hadn't even, beat the time whistle. You know what I mean? Not even gotten a time there, so to actually win that rodeo 3 times and all around and stuff like that, it's just, that rodeo is just really stands out.
But I like how you point out the difficulties of those that have not won it and why that's so important. Now, with that being said, is there any championship, any rodeo out there that you didn't get that you're like, man, I wish I had, or you were close to it? Is there anyone that sticks out in your mind?
Man, it does. Salinas, I always wanted that buckle. Salinas, California, I lost it by 1/10 of a second one of the last years that I'd competed there, and made one of the best runs you can possibly make in the short go. And Chad Johnson come right behind me and just beat me by 1/10 of a second. He had a little bit of a lead on me, but he come right there and needed to be a certain time, and I'm talking about just nailed it. And I lost that buckle, and that's just one that I always wanted, and never did get it.
What's amazing when you think about you're able to go back in your career, how many runs you've done, and you can always remember that one, right? You've done probably thousands, I would imagine. And
Sure.
Just remember that one time. Like, that's just the beautiful part about competing in any sport, for that matter, is that shows like how much of a kind of I don't know, consummate champion you've been, and to know that there was certain ones that you didn't get. Like, it's not off the memory banks.
That's right.
I was reading about your rookie year. You know, you came out 94 blazing straight to the NFR, which, as I know now, that's not easy to do. Definitely in your event.
In 1994, I bounced around with 4 or 5 different people to get to the finals. Just started out with Roy Cooper, and then Lanham Mangold and Jim Bob Mays, and Fred in there eventually somewhere. But it was before we had access to so much social media and cell phones and all that good stuff. I just can remember just rodeoing. I didn't know really what I was rodeoing for. I was just roping and doing the sport that I love. And we rock on there, and it's early fall. And I can remember one morning we went into a Western store, and they had a sports news in there, and Lanham says, "Oh my God, I can't. We've been going all these rodeos and doing all this stuff, and the rookie is 10th in the world." And it was the greatest feeling, because I really didn't even have a clue. You know what I mean? I was just doing what I love and picking up checks and going on to the next one. And we just rock on there, and we get that sports news, and I'm 10th in the world. So that was a cool moment in my rookie season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, to think that you're just grinding and you're a young dude loving what you're doing, not realizing that you're moving up the ranks and they're all paying attention to you. That's the scary moment for them.
Yeah, you can't just pop on your phone and go, "Yeah, I'm 10th this week, 10th right now," and know down to the second the way things are now what position you're in, And here we're just kind of out there in the blind, just rodeoing our guts out, and then being the top 10 in the world at that time was so meaningful,
That's awesome.
Oh, the rodeo sports news magazines, where we used to have to wait to see when the rodeos were, how to enter, what your cutoff dates were, and everything existed in one little magazine.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you would be just rushing from town to town at times when you'd have rodeos closing and trying to just race to the next payphone, to either get trays or, calling people's mom and dad to get a hold of their son. And it was times that I'll never forget. I remember, all the guys that I rodeoed with them first few years, you go get on this phone, I'll go get on that phone, and make sure you get through to, here's your list and here's my list. We got to get traded. And, like I said, 90% of the time you're just talking to somebody's mom and dad, well, he'll call you back. Well, he can't call me back, but I'll I'll try back here in a little while, And so just those memories of the way times have changed since I started, and then all the guys before me had to do the same thing,
You're listening to NFR Extra with our guest, Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame cowboy, Cody Ohl. Let's take a quick break. NFR Extra follows cowboys, talks to legends and country stars, and finds the stories that make up the season that leads to the annual showdown in December. Follow me, Nevada Caldwell, Ryland Bentley, and Steve Goder as we delve deep into the stories in and behind the road to gold. Listen to NFR Extra on Rural Radio, channel 147 on SiriusXM every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, with a re-air Tuesday in the same time slot. NFR Extra, all dirt, all rodeo, all year.
Hey, this is Ty Murray, 9-time world champion cowboy, here on NFR Extra.
Cody Ohl here on NFR Extra. With each championship, on top of what you've done since then, right? There's 6 gold buckles, a lot of memories for each one. Is there one that that you remember that it happened yesterday? Is there
it's not like it happened yesterday, but it's just the very first one will always be mean the most, is because all of the blood and the sweat and the tears and not knowing if you'll ever win one, and then to get that first one, it's just so rewarding. It's just like, all my family out there with me every day, just grinding it out, and then you get that first gold buckle, and it's just like, oh wow! I actually think I put it on my belt. I think I actually ended up sleeping in that thing the first night. But you know what I'm saying? It's all of them had their own special story to them. But that first gold buckle is so rewarding. It's so every ounce of blood off your hands from practicing so much, and the many miles of junior rodeos to get to that point, and to finally get it. It's an unreal feeling.
When you were that first year, because I couldn't find a lot of information on this, how was it with the competition where you were? I mean, like, did you have it wrapped up in like round 5, or I mean, where was it where you knew?
No. In 1997, it was Fred Whitfield and I. We were battling out, and it come down to the last night. he had won the average that year, and then I ended up winning second in the average, so that was good. But I just had to keep knocking on getting a check in the round. I didn't have to win big checks. I just needed to keep plucking away, and like I said, me winning second behind him in the average was what, is what sealed the deal for me. If I'd have been out of the average, then, he would have got him another world championship. But, it was just pretty much down to him and I that in 1997. And then 1998, I won the first first 3 rounds, and then I won second in the fourth round, and then I had that 1998 World Championship sealed up in the fourth round that year. So that was an awesome feeling right there.
Now, I know this is probably going to be a dumb question, but once you have that wrapped up and you've got multiple championships, probably experienced this a couple more times, but do you still step on the gas, right? I mean, like, you never want to pull off, but do you step on the gas even more so knowing that you've won it? Like, almost like you got a 20-point lead and you just keep pounding, right?
Yes, it fuels me. I just had so much fun from that point on. I was still running at the barrier. I think I know I won another round in there somewhere, Actually, it was the 7th go around I won, and then I placed in a couple of others and placed in the 10th round, and just it was so much fun, just to have that monkey off your back to not stress at any other time. It was knew you had it won, and same thing had happened to me in 2001. I just got out there and got hot and had the greatest year that I ever had, and to not compete in the 10th round and still win the calf rope and Indy all around. That's with the competition that's out there. That is unheard of. Trevor has done it numerous times after that, but I don't know that anybody ever could have not competed before my time that not competed in the 10th round, still win 2 gold buckles.
You were going against Fred at that time, and then comes Trevor, right? That's crazy, man, when you think about that transition from what you guys had going on in that run Trevor had. That's amazing.
You bet.
I'm going to chime in here because I think, technically speaking, that was before my time in 2001. How does that work? Not actually, did you back into the box round 10? How did that play out?
No, actually blew my knee out in the 9th round. And so they pretty much, Tandy, he gets to make the call, as far as competing and not competing. And, he opted me out after round 9. And I couldn't even, I had an actual chance to lose the all around to Jesse Bell if he was to win, either a go around in the saddle bronc or win a round in the bull riding. And so, it's kind of a nail biter, because he was riding good and hot at the time. So, for me not to compete at all, it was it was a pretty stressful evening. And then, you know, it just boiled down to, you know, him making that flawless ride, you know, and then the competition was really stiff. So, you know, like I told Tandy, I said, you know, I just competed and finished that run in round 9 with a blown out knee. I said, I think for, you know, with me just having to get a time to place in the average, I honestly think I could beat the 45-second buzzer, you know. And he's like, oh no, you're not competing. So
were you on crutches?
I was on crutches
under the tunnel?
9 yards. Do what?
On crutches under the tunnel, then just sitting waiting. Oof.
Just sitting there watching. That's all I could do.
I couldn't even imagine.
What a painfully good moment.
Yeah, it was a painfully good moment. You're dead on. You know, I was, you know, visiting with Trevor before the performance, and I got a lot of cool pictures and stuff, and that mean a lot. You know, and just, you know, great world champions coming up to you, and you know the things they say, and you know it just meant a lot. But for me to have to stand there and watch that and remember all the miles and the charter planes Trevor and I took to get to this point, to lose it in the 10th round because I got injured in the 9th, you know, it was going to be just a knife in the gut, you know.
You accredited Junior Rodeo earlier, talking about your success. Where Junior Rodeo is at now for our industry is incredible. But what does it mean to you knowing that so many of these kids are looking up to you, going and watching those old videos?
It's awesome. You know, like, I mean, there wasn't a Junior Rodeo I didn't make growing up, you know, and my parents, you know, sacrificed so much to get me to all those. And then, you know, I still to this day, there's great ropers that are like 16, 17, 18 years old that'll just send me videos of old stuff, or even there towards the end of my career, and just, you know, just hashtag GOAT, you know, or the greatest roper to ever pick up a rope, or, you know, it's so meaningful. And they, you know, I don't know if they get what it really means to me, you know, deep down when I'm not saying a little kid, I'm talking about kids that rope really good, that are, I think they're going to go on and make an impact on the world of roping, you know, and those are the kids that send this kind of things to me. And man, it's so meaningful. I mean, it really is.
This is NFR Extra, and our guest today, Cody Ohl.
December in Vegas. What does that mean? It's time for the Wrangler NFR and the Cowboy Channel Cowboy Christmas, the ultimate shopping and entertainment experience. Catch live shows on the Ariat Rodeo Live Stage, the Yeti Junior World Finals, autograph sessions, and much more. Open daily with free admission at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Visit NFRExperience.com for details. The Cowboy Channel Cowboy Christmas. It's all here.
Hi, I'm Fred Whitfield, 8-time world champion, and this is NFR Extra.
Cody Ohl is here on NFR Extra. You think about that whole injury, and it's from a pop culture or pop rodeo culture moment, that you pulling yourself up, blowing out knees. I mean, that can, for a young cowboy growing up, and what does it take? Well, you don't need much to, you know, beyond that to know what it takes, right? And like what it's all about to get that gold buckle. That knee injury and what that means for now, because of social media, it's so easily shared, right? Whether it be a video or an
sure.
That's some powerful stuff, man. I mean, you just connect.
Yeah, you know, and that run will just, you know, it's like it's over the top. You know, when people comment on my career, it's that run. It's not my 6 world championships. It's that run that is just stuck in their brain, stuck in their mind, and you know, and it's a great feeling. You know, it's like I see so many young athletes nowadays just not have that grit and that, you know, just what it takes to be one of the greatest, you know, and they want to quit. Or there's even guys that make the finals that, you know, get down to their second loop, and it's just like they don't even care, you know what I mean? It's like they're just out there, you know, and it's like it's so those runs mean so much to me. I mean, like, I saw my leg off again to win a world championship, and then like you watch some give up a world championship because it's just they're not willing to sacrifice everything. You know what I mean? And so the ones that are willing to do that are the ones that, that I respect,
Joe Beeve had on here, and he talks about the sacrifice you got to do to become a champion, right? There's a lot of things that you got to sacrifice: your time, your friendships at times, your loves for just that statement of "I'd sell my leg off for a world championship." I mean, that just tells you what it takes, right? Like that level of commitment. What is there?
Sure, like I can remember that night like it was yesterday. It was, I guess, just because we were in Vegas. I was dragging, behind that calf to get up, try to get up on my feet and just get a time. So I stayed in the average, and I can just remember it's like a scoreboard with big old white lights around it, going, you lost, you lost, you lost, you lost. And people think I'm crazy, and I'm saying I'm dead serious. That's what I was seeing in my eyes, like it was just like flashing, And I think that's what got me through the whole run, because, that wasn't going to overpower me. That wasn't going to be the reason I lost, because I couldn't compete on one leg, and just crazy what actually went through my mind at that time.
Who did you look up to?
For one, my dad, because he was just unreal, just there every minute, every second of every day, just helping me to grind it out. But as far as Cowboys, I mean, I love the old guys. I love Dean Oliver. I love to watch Roy, and I grew up watching Joe B, and then I actually got to, Fred, he kind of, it seemed like he came on a little later in his life, like he wasn't just like bam right out of high school, but I got to watch him at, some amateur rodeos and jackpots and stuff, to come down to him, and I just for 10 years just battle it out. It's so amazing, because I grew up watching them all, but I grew up seeing him more compete than I did anybody else, in person. And then to get to, what people don't realize is those, 5 or 6 years of those 10, we actually rodeoed in the same truck together all year long, and match ropes at, match opens at San Angelo, and, just head to head bang every day for 10 years, that's just stuff that I'll never forget, and the many miles we've spent together, and the trust, and the driving, and the thank God no wrecks, and having the greatest drivers in the world that we had with us at all times, so we could get rest and be at the top of our game.
You've been inducted to the ProRodeo Hall of Fame class of 2020. You rodeoed your whole life. There's miles, you just mentioned it. There's horses. I mean, I don't know how many you had throughout your career. There's so many things that go into making that moment happen. What did it mean to you?
It's the greatest feeling in the world. And, I was, battling for actually, first couple of weeks of what I had going on, with the blood poisoning and stuff, I battled for my life, not only my health and my walking again and all that, I battled for my actual life, and so it boiled down to, I knew there was no possible way, that I could make an appearance at my own Hall of Fame speech, and the greatest moment and achievement of any world championship, and so I had 2 or 3 people in mind, and when it came down to nominating the people for the Hall of Fame that year, it was Kendra Santos was still, huge in the office at the PRCA and all that good stuff, and so she played a big role on not getting me nominated and getting me to be one of the inductees, and so with the stories that she has wrote, and the meaningful stories she's wrote about the past world world champions that have passed away and gone, and the current, and I felt that there was no other person in this world that I would rather give my speech than Kendra Santos, and to be able to hear what she said from her heart, it was the most meaningful thing I've ever heard out of a human's, mouth about not only another person, but she was talking about me, and just unreal. And I can never, ever, ever thank her enough. What an awesome human she is for stepping up, flying there to do this, to do this speech for me and to accept all my awards and all that good stuff,
Yeah, what a year, man. Seriously,
It's been one roller coaster ride, buddy.
I know when that stuff was going down for you. I mean, on top of the entire universe, right, was upside down. What's cool is that we're here talking to you, 2021, and just it's good to hear your voice and hear you're moving about. I know you're still dealing with some crazy stuff, but man, it's nice to have a good conversation. You share this stuff, and just adds more to your legacy of what you've done in this industry.
Sure, it was crazy, when we talked, a couple of days ago, I'm all about sharing all this stuff, and yesterday they stepped me up a lot in rehab yesterday and over what I've been doing. And it's just like, it almost made me, you get those deep tissue massages and stuff, and it just feels like it, that they release so many toxins and stuff in your body, you just almost feel worse. And that's what happened yesterday. And, I felt bad all day, and then I didn't sleep very good. And then I usually turn my ringer off on nights like that, and I heard my phone vibrate, and it's like I was dreaming, and I rolled over and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be doing an awesome interview this morning. And anyway, I'm glad it all worked out, that we can still pull this off and tell some of the cool stories,
NFR Extra with our guest, 6-time world champion Cody Ohl. We'll wrap up our conversation after the break.
Looking for tickets to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo? StubHub is the official secondary and fan-to-fan site of the rodeo. Fans can buy and sell their tickets through a safe and secure online marketplace. Visit nfrexperience.com.
The Yeti Junior World Final. He is back in Vegas. From December 2nd through 11th, the next generation of rodeo stars will compete at the Cowboy Channel Cowboy Christmas, held daily inside the Wrangler Rodeo Arena. Visit nfrexperience.com for details.
This is Shad Mayfield, 2-time NFR qualifier and reigning world champion, and you are listening to NFR Extra.
NFR Extra with Cody Ohl. This whole podcast is wrapped around, 360 degree of the stories that surround the rodeo industry. One was yours. We definitely wanted to get on because as we've talked to other individuals like the Tough Hedemans of the world, or the Grownies, or just a list of folks and the things that they've shared. The bigger thing is, because the way this works in the digital media side, it becomes a library, right? It doesn't go away. And so
right.
People get to discover this and hear Cody's voice and hear it straight from the horse's mouth, no pun, but just becomes powerful stuff. That's it's a super joy, man, to have you on this show today.
I appreciate it. And like I said, it means a lot to me. I mean, I like to bring up those moments and stuff. It's the stuff that means the most to me, and it just the stuff that drove me my whole career. And to every time you talk about it, it's just like it stays in your mind another couple of weeks. It's cool moments, and it's moments we'll never get back, and just so many memories, and so many miles. People don't realize, we're go from one rodeo one night and, drive 12, 14, 16 hours to another one, by the next night, and just things they don't realize that we sacrifice for our families, and to put food on the table and to raise a family and juggle all that in between, your schedule. It's it's a whirlwind. I'm just glad, I wish I could have got in there a couple of years with the new added money, and I'm just proud that those guys are getting to compete for that kind of money. But at the same time, I want them to lay it all on the line. We rope for, almost half of what they're roping for, and we laid it on the line. We'd saw a leg off. We would do whatever it took to win. That's just the same competitive edge that we wanted to see in these guys getting to compete for a lot more money.
Yeah, 100%, man. And even when you think about other sports, right, you hear NBA guys, NFL guys, they say the same thing, that when they were competing, they weren't getting all those dollars, right, coming to them, whether it be through sponsorship or just through straight up from their team paying them. And
right.
But that's that whole legacy part, right, that just keeps you pass it to the next generation and they get better.
See all these old videos, look at the football players, look at the rodeo cowboys that did it for the love of the sport. Make just enough to break even at the end of the year, but just doing it because of the love, and the drive and the adrenaline rush. It's not only did I love to win, I love to entertain. I love to get the fans interacting. When they played my song when I rode in the box, I could feel the crowd energy just go all through my body. You know what I mean? And so naturally, I'm wanting them on the edge of their seats. I'm wanting them to, whatever their ticket cost, that one run out of all the runs of everybody that night, I'm wanting them to get every ounce of their money's worth. You know what I'm saying? That was my goal every night. I was needing to be a little safe. I just couldn't be that guy. I wanted to blast the roof off that place every time I nodded my head.
Man, when you hear that song, and the sweet part about now is, you have those highlights you can watch, and when you hear Cowboy, I mean, it 100% knows exactly what's next, right? And that's actually a good point that you.
They knew what was coming. It was going to be greatness, or it was going to be dust.
What would you? Okay, knowing that, and man, the cowboy that you've been, and man, from what I understand, you're a badass, right? Like just kind of how you operate in your life. What would you, if you had the opportunity, go back to hell? We'll go back to '94. What would you tell young Cody Ohl if you had to? I mean, what would you tell that guy?
That's one thing that I respect about Trevor Brazile. Since you brought that up, I'm not the one thing. There's so many things. He's greatest. He's won more than anybody will ever win, bar none. But he stayed in there, and I had a benefit roping for myself this weekend, and Marcus Costa, one-time world champion calf roper, and match roped head-to-head Shad Mayfield. And when it was over, Marcus he said some of the most meaningful things that I've ever had a human being ever tell me in my entire life. What it meant for me to be in his corner, when he flew over here and, didn't know anybody, Strand, Smith's family was just, that was his life, and then they supported him and guided him in so many great directions. But to have other fellow world champions to tell him things and to suggest things, and when he didn't have a clue what was going on over here, for him to say those many unreal things. But what I told him when it was over, Shad had posted a Muhammad Ali clip the other day, and he says, while I can smack them in the face and not knock them down and do all these things, I will never stop doing it until I can't do it anymore. And some of the world championships I let get away were family, like I was raising kids, and that was the most meaningful thing in my entire life. So sometimes I would come home and miss 2 rodeos. Well, man, I would get home and enjoy my family so much. I would call my driver and I was just like, hey man, just stay hooked where you're at. Just stay camped out, and I would miss week or week and a half or 2 weeks at sometimes, you know. Well, you know, sometimes that was in crucial times of rodeo, and I need to be out there. But the most meaningful thing at that time was my family, you know. And so, you know, I let a couple of world championships slip away, you know, needing to be 100% flawless at Vegas, and then, you know, have one little hiccup in there, something would happen. Well, then, you know, it would just, right then I would be done, you know, with the world championship race. And, you know, like I told him, I said, man, get every single one of the gold buckles that you can get. You know, Trevor stayed hooked with family and juggling that. And, you know, I feel like I let, you know, at least 5 get away, you know. So you're talking going from a 6-time world championship to 11-time world champion. You know, it's just crazy. You know, I would tell these rookies now, you know, that, you know, and I not only rookies, you know, Shad and them, it's his second year. And I just told him, I said, man, that video was so cool you posted the other day, and it, you know, it inspired me. And that's why I messaged you back. I said, you keep getting every one of them until you can't get another one. And then, because I'm telling you, buddy, when it's over, the party is over. You know what I'm saying? It's all the adrenaline, the things that drives you every day. They are over as far as the competing world. And that's just a message that, you know, I would send to the young up and comers that have gold buckles, you know, in their future.
Yeah, that's a good message, man. You know, it's and to share kind of that run of how you balance out. And again, you went one route, right? There's times that you sacrifice things, and then the other time you sacrifice for your family, which just speaks louder than words, man, of kind of the guy you are.
Appreciate it, man. Like I said, it always feels good to you know, to go back through the archives of your own brain, you know, and share it, let people know how it all really went down, you know.
Well, and not only that, I mean, when you, again, going back to the young listening to this, you know, let's just say a young guy that's probably 12, 13 years old comes across this, let's say in 2022 sometime, and he's thinking about like stopping or whatever it is, wherever he's at in his roadblocks, right? Because no matter kids or teenagers, adults, we all go through some tough times. But to hear this, all it would do is amplify motivation to keep going and get after it. And that's why it's cool, man, that we got to get you on here. Yeah, it's we've come a long ways, man. And you got to think today, rodeo seems like it's in a good place where it's able to share these stories. Nothing really goes unseen anymore. And thanks to the Cowboy Channel, you get to watch it come to like a more full circle. But you think about if like the Cody Ohl was around today, oh my God, man, you would be a social media icon. Like, awesome.
I would love to. I would love for it to be right now, starting that 1994 year. I would give anything, but it's, you know, it's in the books. It's Cody Ohl chapter, as far as competing in the rodeo world, is over. And man, like I said, I wish these kids that are getting to compete and be on TV every night, I hope they appreciate, you know, where the sport of rodeo has gone, you know, and you know, I appreciate all the ones ahead of me that paved the road. And, you know, I just hope them guys are, you know, I know they are, because just like I said, to hear what those guys said about me personally to my face, you know, the Shad Mayfields, the Marcus Costas, you know, I know what the sport means to them, you know, and then there's a lot of kids that are just out there just to be out there. But, you know, it takes the numbers to pull off these great rodeos, you know. So it takes the guys that will never make the finals. It takes the guys that are going to make the finals every year. You know, it takes each one of these people to pull off these great rodeos that they're blessed to go to, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This was great, man, and glad we got you. I hate to say it, but I'm glad we got you up, man, and got you on here. This was a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate it, buddy. It's my pleasure to get to tell it all.
Go back to healing or rehabbing, whatever you got going on today, man. But thank you for your time today.
Sir.
This was fantastic.
All right, you guys have a great day.
You too,
Cody. You too.
Okay.
Many thanks to Cody Ohl for visiting us on NFR Extra.
Want to experience more of NFR? Then visit nfrexperience.com. And we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've heard on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a big 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe.
NFR Extra.
All dirt.
All rodeo.
All year.
Gotta make it out to Vegas, where the big boys roam, with the rovers and the racers and the bulls and the broncs, and the ladies in the skin-tight wranglers and the cowboy